Well, hey everyone, it's Kris from the Rate the Record podcast, and it's that time of the week again where Kris does a thing, also known as singles review time. So let's check out 3 new singles that I found this week. Let's just jump into it because I have nothing else to say. The first band that I'm looking at today is metal band Rolo Tomassi from the UK, and they just dropped their latest and 6th full-length album, Where Myth Becomes Memory, back on February 4th. Just a heads up, going into this review, I was supposed to look at the last single that they dropped called Closer back in January, but I kind of got my dates mixed up and accidentally ended up writing a review for a song called Drip that they released back in November, so I guess why not let's check out Drip. This track starts like the most suspenseful horror movie I think I've ever heard. This one really gave me like Daughters vibes in the beginning. For those of you who haven't seen, you can go see episode 2 of our podcast where we did Daughters, You Won't Get What You Want. You have these droning, dissonant, high-pitched guitars just kind of going on. This low-sounding like bass siren-y kind of sound, which is really unsettling. You have these indecipherable talking in the background. And then it kind of gets matched up with this like very fast, like punchy snare just kind of leading you all through, and it builds up for like a solid minute. Then there's this like loop noise that comes in, kind of mechanical sounding, like really mechanical, and it just gets layered on top of everything else. It gets really crazy. After about a minute and a half, we finally get to the first verse. You get these fast chugging guitars, like an airy, choiry type synth sound going on. And then these really cool, aggressive screams from frontwoman Eva Corman. They kind of just fly through like they're on fire. You have this great heavy chorus, but then it's eventually met with this kind of quieter, softer, but still high-paced section of the song where you get clean vocals, only slightly distorted guitars. Great tones, great sounds. I really like this part. That is until these like little synth pianos kind of come in the background. Wasn't too big on that, but other than that, it sounds cool. Then there's eventually a bridge of what feels like 16th noted like dead notes and hi-hats and slow drum and everything like that. It acts as a really, really good build-up and everything like that. I like the way it sounds. Builds up back into the final verse. Just a lot going on. Great roller coaster of a song, emotionally speaking. Overall, it's a pretty solid track. Nothing too new or exciting when it comes to like comparing it to others in this genre, but it still has a lot of great moments. I do dig it, and I would suggest checking it out if you want something just a little heavier. Second up for the week, we have Alt J from Leeds, England. They have a new album that just dropped back on February 11th. It's their 4th studio album called The Dream. And the final single that dropped from that album actually came out just a week prior on February 7th, and it's called The Actor, and that's the one I'm taking a look at today. You have these ambient synths that kind of slowly build themselves into the track to kick it all off. Then you're met with this kind of really fun guitar riff that only happens occasionally through the song, but I really like it. The verse itself has this like really wandering synth pad type thing going on in the background. It felt out of place for a while, but to be honest, it kind of started to grow on me before too long. The drums kick in, and you know what? I think they're actually perfect for this track. Obviously not all tracks, but I mean, this one, it fits the mood. I love the sound of the heavy, dull punch of the snare drum. I know it's all really minimal, but you know what? Again, fits the mood. I like it. The vocals are there too, very pleasant, give it a very dream-like quality. So you definitely have that indie rock, art rock, dream pop type feeling to it, I guess. The chorus doesn't have much of a pickup, but the entire track as a whole kind of already has this very steady, rideable type vibe to it, so I actually really like it for what it is. It's very chill. The only illusion-breaking moment for me in this entire track was this kind of ascending synth chord that happens. It adds like a bit of disorienting feeling, I guess, going through the song. It only pops up periodically, but you know what? I actually kind of dig it regardless. It kind of adds to that weird dreamlike quality in a way. The second verse was actually fairly minimal, but I do like how they played around with certain things. The vocals carried on nicely, there's harmonies that kind of match perfectly, and then as you go on through the song again, you get these like choir-like vocals in the background that kind of kick in. Everything sounds really cool about it. I like it. You have these synth strings that eventually kind of come in too and add to more of that dreamlike atmosphere that's already been built up. Although it's probably not as dreamy, this whole track is not as dreamy as I'm saying it is. It just kind of gave me those feelings. Overall, I do like this one. Surprise, surprise. And I'll just add this note onto here too. If it's legal where you are and you're of age, this is the perfect song to lay back and maybe, I don't know, take a couple of deep breaths if you know what I mean. Try it out. And finally, for my picks of the week, we have another metal band, Cult of Luna from Sweden. They too also released an album back on February 11th called The Long Road North, and they actually have a single on their Bandcamp page that has a music video that you can check out, obviously linked down in the description below. You can check that out. It's called Cold Burn. That's the one we're looking at today, so check it out with me, I suppose. Just a quick heads up going into this one, though. It is a 9.5 minute track. I think it's like 9:41 altogether. A bit of a lengthy one, so make some time for it. This track starts out with what sounds like distorted horns just blaring out these one notes like every once in a while. It kind of feels like a whole note type feel to it, or a half note. Regardless, they keep blaring out, it sounds distorted. It almost sounds like a war horn. Drums follow in very soon after with this really cool groove to it, but when I say groove, just understand I don't mean the groove that you're probably thinking of, because this track is sludgy as hell. Maybe not sludgy as hell, but still sludgy. Eventually the vocals come in on top of these relentlessly paced drums and blaring horns once again, and it's not just vocals. Once again, we are in screaming territory. My biggest gripe so far, even in the verse, is the fact that the guitars felt slightly undermixed, which is unfortunate because I was very curious about them. They were playing these really cool minor chord progressions, like on top of everything, or I guess underneath since it was kind of buried in the mix. So yeah, I kind of wish I could hear more of that. Same thing goes with the bass, or what I feel like was a distorted bass, kind of buried in the mix a little bit, sounded cool. Wish I could have had more of that too. The second section, or maybe even the chorus, depending on how you look at this track, kind of comes in. It really narrows down the soundscape a bit as compared to the verse, so I count this as a part of the track where you can kind of collect yourself, catch your breath, even though it's not entirely calm. The guitar solo comes in with only like a handful of notes repeating. There's one section, then there's another section for it. They're just really long, drawn-out notes, but it still sounds really good. So just remember, kids, you can have a really cool solo without having to shred ass. Just remember that next time you're writing a song. There's something very courageous and heroic sounding about this track, but just kind of in a darker, difficult journey type way. I don't know. This is just what I saw in my head. I don't even know if that makes sense. I'm trying to describe it the best I can. Overall, I dig it though. There's just enough going on in this track that kind of piques my interest. Some parts felt a little repetitive, but it all kind of worked out in the end. So hey, good stuff. Everything worked. And those were my picks of the week. I hope you give them a listen. Let me know what you think of them down below. I'm always curious to know your opinion on them. Whether you like them or hate them or you're somewhere in between, it's all good. I want to hear about it. Don't forget to check out Savannah's reviews as well. Maybe she'll have hers up on the same day as me for once. We will see. That's right, I'm calling you out. And if for some reason you didn't know, Rate the Record is indeed a podcast. We do it every Monday, and this past Monday we looked at Living Colour and their 1988 debut album, Vivid. That's right, that's the one with Cult of Personality on it. That's right, that's CM Punk's theme song. So listen to the album so that way you know where the song comes from. We talk about that, so go listen to it. Thank you very much for watching this today. So watch the podcast, watch Savannah Singles review, and we will be back next week with more content. So take care, friends.